people buy from people, that's the most important part. If you want to be successful in China, you need to have two important things. One is distribution, and two is a lot of money. We don't have expensive ambassadors. The marketing is the product. That's for us key. We are now ranked in the top 40 brands in Switzerland.
L'industrie du luxe par ceux qui la façonnent.
Je m'appelle Loudana et bienvenue dans le Podcast du Luxe. Je suis docteure et cofondatrice de la fintech Grace, qui permet aux marques de luxe de protéger leurs biens exceptionnels afin que leurs clients les portent en toute sérénité partout dans le monde. Ces dernières années, j'ai eu la chance incroyable de rencontrer certains des plus importants dirigeants et grands noms du luxe qui, à travers leur histoire, ont créé celle de l'une des industries les plus puissantes et énigmatiques au monde, le luxe.
Before COVID, we were doing 5 to 6% e-commerce. Then COVID came, we saw an acceleration. It went from 10 to 12 to 13% of our business.
Ces leaders exceptionnels ont accepté de se livrer dans le podcast afin de vous raconter ce qu'il se cache derrière des pièces iconiques comme un sac Hermès ou encore une montre Bulgarie. Comment ces groupes comme LVMH, Richemont ont bâti de tels empires.
C'est toutes les questions de toutes les marques de luxe aujourd'hui.
Des parcours impressionnants qui vous marqueront à jamais. Je vous donne rendez-vous chaque mercredi afin de vous partager en exclusivité des conversations inédites et sans filtre avec les leaders de cette industrie. Welcome to le Podcast du Luxe. In this new episode, I'm very thrilled to introduce a fascinating guest, Niels Eggerding, the CEO of Frédérique Constant. You're going to meet someone very captivating, as I said. Someone, who had a really vision of what is the luxury industry for watches. We're going, to deep dive into how making the luxury more accessible, how scale a global brand worldwide in the watch industry, and what is the real meaning of the luxury today. In this new episode, you're going to meet a real leader in the luxury industry, someone who had a so-shaped vision of what is the watch brand businesses. A rich and so inspiring conversation that I hope will teach you as much as it did for me. I wish you a wonderful episode with us on le Podcast du Luxe. Hi Niels.
Hello Lou.
Thank you so much for having me today in the manufacture of Frédérique Constant. Before I introduce yourself, could you please share with us the feeling you have to be here in this such big manufacturer in Plan-les-Ouates?
Yeah. Plan-les-Ouates, Plan-les-Watch. I mentioned it. Yeah. That's what the co-name we mentioned, this area. So here we have like 6,000 square meter pure watchmaking. I'm here for 12 years and I'm super proud every day to come here in this factory to see people dynamically working, assembling, working on the marketing, sales, and it gives me true joy to come in here every day. Every day, for me, I'm driven by the people around me, and that gives me a smile to come here.
And all the manufacture process all here?
The full process is here. Yeah, it's like we used to have like 3,000 square meters. And back in 2019, just before COVID, we enlarged it with another 3,000, so in total 6,000, where we have T0, so the CNC machines. We have the T1, the assembling of the movement, T2, the assembling of the case, let's say the encasing, and then T3, T4 is really the quality control process.
And you have like marketing, communication, finance?
Sure, all the stuff, marketing, HR, finance, customer care, this after sales is all here.
In T0, T5?
No, we call T0 is down, is the basement. T1, tier, officially the word tier is T1, comes from the department, the tier 1. But we have basement 1 to 3 floors, so but everything is mostly on the first floor.
Okay,
for the production.
Okay, so Niels, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Niels. I'm Dutch, I'm living here for 12 years. I was young and educated by a very strict father, but an extremely liberal mother, very conflictual. Typical Dutch also. We moved very early stage to the south part of Holland. I was born in Amsterdam. And in Eindhoven, where I've been raised, I also studied the business administration, business school. And I have been always attracted by more entrepreneurial mindset, basically that also was driven by my parents.
Why?
Because my mother was very, very liberal. So she really challenged me to be creative. I've been going to school, to educational school when I was young, a very liberal school also. Typical Dutch, I have to say. Less than French, where we know that it's very strict. But there you learn to be very creative. And that helped me in a young age. And later it really supported also me in decisions I took, that I wanted to really develop myself. And the first thing I enjoyed was the sales. That part was for me working with people, selling something that is tangible, a product. I love that. And then, of course, in an early stage, I came across to the watch business.
Oh. And just before going to your first jobs, why, for example, you didn't go to entrepreneur program or entrepreneur project?
Yeah, well, I didn't do like one of the biggest known in university. I did a business school in local Eindhoven, my city in that time. And I was very early stage. I was attracted to internships at different companies. That's where I learned much more than I would have gone to different schooling, for instance. And these internships really shaped me in what I liked to do.
What it was, this internship? It was in
several
industry,
internships, but the internship
business, sales?
Very business driven. In that time, I did an internship of a watchmaking distribution company in Holland, and I was learning to do stocks. I was learning to do marketing, but very quickly I was really attracted to the sales part. And I was doing fairs in that time. I'm talking about 25 years ago. You had like big shows where watch brands are coming together, still like Basel, but then local. And the first time I was like 21 years old, I was going to 20 years old. I was going to a fair, and I was selling myself certain watches there. No. Interesting enough, it was already like Zenith watches, Frédérique Constant watches in the early stage in that time.
Oh, it's so very, very early.
Very early, but I think it's very important in the process when you're young is when you are forced to do these kind of internships. Now it's quite normal because we have a lot of interns coming here. You very quickly know where you are, where your purpose is going to be attracted in. And I think for young people, it's super important to have your purpose, to have an idea why you wake up every day.
And when you were young, what it was your dream as a job?
Yeah, that was totally different. That was a chef-cook in that time.
No way.
Yeah.
So you're a good cooker?
I'm a good cooker, yeah.
Oh, and why you didn't go there? Or build, I don't know, lunch or restaurant? Or...
Yeah, well, you know, time goes by and your path is like a river, you know, it goes everywhere, especially when you're young. And it didn't came to like working in the weekends and in the evenings when I was young. So I did some small jobs in that time, and I very quickly thought, no, this is not my thing. So I love the cooking part, but I don't like that evening work or that weekend
not for
work.
A job.
Not in that time, no.
Just a personal passion and enough.
I love to cook at home, yeah, sure.
Okay, and why you enter in the watch industry? Did you have this passion for this category of luxury? And no.
In the
like
beginning,
not.
Hasard? In the beginning, not.
Okay.
I did an internship, and I looked for half a year all the departments in the watch distribution company, what I just mentioned. But I was looking at the watches, and I was so attracted to the craftsmanship of that my passion was born there for watches. After that, I did several different things, but very quickly I was again asked to come to work for that same company in the sales. After 1.5 years. And I decided to do that. And that's where the passion only grew for me.
And do you remember how was a bit like the process to sales watch at this moment of your life? Because if now you have to do the same job, is it will be the same or totally different?
No, it's still the same. So I was basically hired in that time, and I was 21, 22, 21.
Young.
It's still young, yeah, sure, super young. Maybe 22. And I was hired to develop certain brands. In that time, brands like Camel Trophy watches, Benetton watches, Frédérique Constant and Zenith, that were the brands they had. and you just had to travel on the road with a car and suitcases full of watches to visit point of sales. It happens still today, because today we have like 2,700 point of sales worldwide. And for instance, in France, we have a whole team who's traveling and visiting the stores. So that mechanism is still the same. For me, it was super interesting, because where I'm now and where I was by then, I learned every step in companies by doing it. So I understand the sales today, how difficult it can be, but also how motivating it can be.
And how did you sell the watch from different brands? Because you didn't come just for Frédérique Constant.
No.
You came to their multi-brand stores for different brands.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with them and negotiate it when you have this complicated issue?
So I always come back to one very important thing: people buy from people. And no matter what kind of product you have, if you have that connection and you can find that connection with someone, he's more likely to purchase the product that you sell instead of with someone he doesn't have a connection with. So if you have that connection, if you have the same frequency of talking, and you have also the empathy of how he is building his business, then it's very simple. No, it's still difficult, but it's easier to offer him certain watches that you think it's good for his sales. So it's a process of people, and then seeing how can you help him to drive business with your product. Those two steps are important.
Yes, and in the same time, you have your goals, your objectives, what you want to him to sell. You know, from all the company, you have a stock, so you have to sell it.
Sure.
And so you have to adapt yourself in front of what sort of multi-brand store you have.
Sure.
And the market, and the sales.
It's a full process. It's like I have to go a long way back, but it's still very useful when I talk to the sales in local countries. You have to do a very good mapping of your market. What kind of point of sales are existing? What kind of point of sales is carrying what kind of brand? Where is your brand the best suitable partner for the other brands in there? And then, based on this data, you can really approach the point of sales and say, listen, you have those brands, you're missing, let's say, a price point there. Why would we not discuss and have an appointment to go over the collection and see what we can do for each other? That's a whole process you have to earn. But for me, still going back to people buy from people, that's the most important part.
So do you think you are an easy person, like a really relationship person with this natural talent for relationship? Like, you know, in sales, it's, I think, one of the most important to be naturally good to that. But do you think you have to work on it?
No, I think it needs to be natural. I think it's important. People, when you meet people, you have only one moment to give the first impression. And that first impression tells someone, I think for 60 to 70%, if he's going to like you or not. So after that, it's all other important things that come across on the table. But that first impression, it's the most important part. And that needs to be naturally born in you. You can learn a lot of skills, but that needs to be there. Do I have it? It's difficult to tell you from my point of view. You need to ask other people in the company. But for me, it's very important. My people is the number one importance for me, whatever I do.
Okay.
I need to have the right people around me. I need to be connected with them. I need to trust them. And they need to be engaged in the process we are working.
Okay. So if we come back, so it was your first job.
Yeah.
You wanted to do sales, so you did sales.
Yes.
And I know that after you moved to Swatch Group, from different brands. So can you talk about it?
Sure. So I was running 1.5, 2 years sales, and then Swatch Group came. They said, listen, we need some young people, dynamic people for the brand. Certina, I can tell you, if you can sell Certina, you can sell everything at that time. It was very difficult, but it was a challenge for me.
I don't know if I can say that, but my mother told me, like, I think 10 years ago, like, my little brother wanted to have a beautiful first watch, but not so expensive. And so he didn't know really the watch brand, and he showed to my mother some model of watch, and he saw a Certina. And my mother, she said, "What do you want, my child? But not this one."
Not a Certina. Yeah, no, the brand is very difficult. In that, I'm talking about 20 years ago. I have to say, the brand today, the Swatch Group brands are developed. They've developed, and they are strong, and they're qualitative, very strong. So I'm not saying anything negative about that, because I've been also learning a lot from.
And it's a trend, and
absolutely.
If my mother doesn't like, it's her,
everyone has a different taste.
Emotion, exactly.
Yeah. So Certina, I came in that time for Certina. Very quickly I moved up to Rado, and in a time frame of 11 years I ended up to being the brand manager, brand director for Longines. So
how old are you at this moment?
At that time, that was 11 years, so I was early 30. I'm becoming 46 next month, so
but it was
12
a big
years.
Job.
Yeah, sure. But I had a lot of experience. That was the benefit.
Why did you say yes to the opportunity? Because you had a sales background.
Yeah.
And to take more like a top management about the brand. Why?
I never say no to a challenge. So that's something that I would be never shy for. But again, it comes back to the right people around you. If you have people skills and you have you are naturally a manager. Also, that I cannot judge. Of course, I can judge because I'm now here. But I think a manager needs to have strong people skills, strong vision driven, and if you have that vision, you can engage with your people. You can attract the right people to do the job. I think that's super important. So it doesn't matter if you don't master all the elements of a company. As long as you have that clear vision and you are strong people-driven, so you don't focus on people what they do wrong. Many managers do that. You do this wrong, that wrong. Focus on things you do good with them and elevate that, bring that higher. Then you take the best out of your people, and they are super engaged. And then you can win any war with that.
And they are feeling the impact they have on the company and with the job.
Yeah. Of course, that's everything is important. Checking in with them, celebrate successes, small successes, big success. It's important.
And so, what it was your first mission when you came at Longines?
My first mission at Longines.
You had to remember.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. But the first mission, I didn't enjoy working for Longines that much. Because in that time, the brand was starting to really increase the business. So it wasn't a good period, no? It was a very nice, but I don't like the easy way of doing the business. For me, I liked the challenge. Not enough. So I did it for 2-3 years. And then, but the brand was super attracted by the Chinese population. In that time, I think that 60 to 70% of the business by Longines was done in China, but also with the Chinese traveling. So it was not that much of a challenge to sell. Today, it's a much bigger challenge. I can tell you. So,
why today?
Today in the watch business, it's a bigger challenge.
But what? So we're going.
But let's go back.
Yeah.
So in that time, I was working for Longines, but then I met Peter and Aletta Stas, who were the founders of Frédérique Constant, and for me, I was right away attracted to their passion, but also their vision. So you see the engagement you can have as a person. He was speaking about the brand, the mission, what he wants to achieve, and where he needed someone. And that was super attractive for me. And I said, listen, this is an interesting challenge, because now you can really move things with the brand. And so you say, bye Longines, and let's go to Frédérique Constant. Yes, yeah. And what was your challenge? Oh, that was a big challenge, because, I can tell you. Yeah. Here at Frédérique Constant, when I came the first time, Peter and Aletta were a couple. They were having the brand development quite strong, but they were very Dutch in the way they were managing. So what you could see in this environment, they really needed someone in between the hard Dutch management and the more polished luxury, let's say, atmosphere. And I was very happy to fit in there, but I struggled big time for half a year to maybe a year to find my place. I was Dutch, so I needed to learn a lot of cultural things. But again, I went back to that people part. So for me, that was very important to be strong, people-driven.
Because you were in Geneva?
I moved to Geneva, but I was not living in Geneva before.
Okay.
That was a challenge, I can tell you.
And so when you came, you had again this sales and commercial position?
So when I came, my mission was very clear. We had like 13 to 1,400 point of sales globally back in 2011-12. And he really said, Niels, I want you to build a team and to develop the point of sales globally, distribution. So that was my mission for the years after. And we grew that to a level of, I think, close to 3,000 points of sales. So I was very engaged. I had a great team.
How many times?
Well, I think back in 2016, so you can talk about 3 years.
So it's a good growth.
3-4 years, yeah. That was a significant growth we did.
And why they didn't do it before you? Because they didn't have enough money, or because they didn't find the good person to have, to have the good team, the good execution, the good speech?
Yeah, partly. It's people.
Vision.
It's maybe vision. It's also a leader to lead it that was needed, but it's also time. You need time. Time is the worst enemy if you want to build a luxury brand, because you need the time.
Yes, you need to build your image, you need to build your bestseller, your iconic brand, and to say, yes, this watch is going to live for years and life. That's
Sure.
what Frédérique Constant is young.
Young.
Like Richard Mille. There is young brand.
There are young brands, correct.
But
But for them, it's more challenging to build it. Because you build something in a much quicker time frame. The pressure is much higher because you need to catch up. That's what you have to do. And you need to do, you don't have a lot of time to fail. Although I believe in failures, because only then you can drive to success, knowing where you fail. But you need to go quicker, much quicker. So you need to have a team here. We had a team that is resistant for that speed and resistant to try a lot of things and accept failure and focus on the things that worked. So that rhythm is almost an addiction if you start working in it.
So you need to be adaptable and to react.
Yes. You need to be very entrepreneurial, basically.
And do you have an example of a failure that you learn a lot thanks to it?
So many. But I would say, let's look at the product, because we have done the smartwatch.
Yes.
Very successful in the beginning. It was an horological smartwatch.
Because it was a trend?
Sorry?
Because it was a trend?
In that time, there was no Swiss watch brand doing a smartwatch. Okay. And remember, back in 2015-16, when we launched, Apple was coming up as big time. And if you look now, back in 2018, let's say 10 people in a plane, 2 to 3 people was wearing an Apple Watch. Yeah. And it was really eating up the watch market. So
and now the watch, the most sold in the world is the Apple Watch.
Is an Apple Watch, yeah, sure. And in that time, we just wanted, Peter, he was quite entrepreneurial too, and visionary. He said we need to tap into that market. But we should do it on our way, horological. No digital screen, very classic. That mechanism worked perfectly. So if you go to that success rate, it was super successful in the beginning, but then it started to be also difficult. And I'll tell you why. It's not really a failure, but I would say it has been a big challenge. The industry, we were thinking, okay, the industry will pick up with smartwatches. But the industry didn't pick up with smartwatches because it has been very complicated. Some brands did. If the industry doesn't follow, your retailer will not be forced to spend a special corner for it, to be educated how to sell it. So basically you miss a bit of leverage to retail to give it time, face time. And then what happens if they're going to sell a watch for €1,000 where they need to use 10 to 15 minutes to explain, to connect the watch. They don't know how to connect, maybe they fail, they get insecure. They prefer to sell a watch for €4,000, for instance, a world timer within the gum we have, in 5 minutes. So you could see this movement happening. Industry didn't pick up, retail didn't pick up, and you start to come in a position where you need to take certain decisions. So recently we took a decision to stop the smartwatch.
And why don't you sell a watch in, for example, where Apple Watch are sold, like in Darty, Fnac? Or...
It's interesting. We tried that, and you could see that that consumer that goes there doesn't look for a classical horological smartwatch.
Sure.
So it was really, but that's also.
But you have an Hermès Apple Watch.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
yes.
True.
But I don't think
watch.
you can buy an Apple Watch in La Fnac. I think you need to go to Apple or maybe to.
Today, yes. I think at that time they had in the beginning they had. But I think it's more important to realize, okay, guys, we have been having success with it. We had an innovative drive. We had the consumers, early adapters picked up. You gain traction media-wise with it. Mm-hmm. But then you also need to take a firm decision quickly if you see it's going to fail. Mm. That's where many CEOs or many companies don't dare to take decisions, but you have to take a decision on a certain moment.
And there is some company who can say, no, we're going to pass away the challenge. We're going to try to keep.
Sure.
And for example, I know Louis Vuitton, they are still doing like a digital watch. There is other brands, not same positioning, if I don't say mistakes. But there is other brand who want to do that. And at the same time, there is other brand who want to just give digital experience. Like you have I know you launched like NFT, very
we
early.
Did,
by
yeah.
Yeah,
that's fun.
And
that was fun.
Yes, and for example, can you just tell, because it's a subject right now, so where did you launch it and what is your positioning? Because just before, there is NFT, but there is as well digital passport, there is QR code you can have to activate some warranty. Yeah, there is a lot of digital in the experience and linked to the brand.
With Frédérique Constant, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. NFT was typically something early stage. We are one of the early brands doing something in NFT in that time, where you can see the entrepreneurial spirit we have. We just try things. And
you're not scared to have a failure.
No. But that's also culture. You need to make people comfortable to fail. You need to let them feel comfortable to dare to fail.
Do you think is it possible in Frédérique Constant right now, because it's owned by a group and before by a family? But if you were in Swatch Group or LVMH, anything, a big group, do you think that could be easier?
Here it would be easier to fail because we are having that culture, although we're starting to be bigger and bigger now, that it starts to be more processed in a way for people. So there's less and less room to try things like that, but that's normal. That's also the phase where a company goes through. But definitely that's for me an advantage. That would be much more difficult for brands. Now we just mentioned, for instance, brands from the Swatch Group. For them, it's maybe more difficult to try things because they are in a big industrialized group. And you cannot always do that. You need to follow the rules and you need to follow your brand DNA that fits into the pyramid of a group. So they have restrictions. So that requires different staff, different people in a way. Then if you have Richard Mille, if you have other brands, they require very entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay. So if we just finish on your journey, you know, so you became a very young CEO of a brand. Could you tell us more about it? And how old
it's already
you were?
6 years now.
I don't remember. 38?
I'm now 40. I was 40. I become 46, so it's 6 years now. So I was 40, quite young in the industry, because in that time I don't think there were many people younger than me, I have to say.
Except if you're someone from a family.
Family owned, but later you could see that it really started to be younger. After COVID, groups, but also companies started to introduce more younger audience, what was needed also. Because you had CEOs who were over 60, 65 years old. They don't know anything about Generation Y, Z or digital, so you need refreshment. For me, it has been an extreme, learnful period. So I was appointed back in 2018. I prepared a 3-year plan. We always work with 3-year terms of planning. How are we going to do the upcoming 3-year product, business, P&L? That's all prepared. And then we present it to the shareholding company. They approve, we tweak, and then we validate. Back in 2019, I had a beautiful plan ready. The whole team engaged, full focused on it. A new product line, a younger audience, the high life in that time. But we all know what happened 1 year after. So that's also business. These kind of things happened fully into COVID. We had to completely block supply chain, protect your stock, protect your finance. So it was a whole turnaround of your plan. What was for me super difficult, because you go in from 1 year to another year into full change of strategy. But now looking back, in that period, I learned the most. So it was super learnful for me to see how you react, how you can turn people, how you react with the industry, in the market, with your point of sales, how you interact with them. So it has been a very quick learning for me.
And what did you do to save your P&L, for example?
What do I do? We went full speed digital at that time, so e-com. We also installed with retail that we had everywhere in the world to support them to sell online. Because in that time, that online sales, I found it still a bit fragile. Retail, very old-fashioned style of selling. They were not activating, but they were forced to think also more on digital. So that was one move we did to secure the sales. But of course, you had an impact. So then we had to take care of the stock, the purchases, because that was super important. Luckily, I have to say, we could work very close together with the suppliers we had to lean the supply income. Because also for them, it didn't make sense to force us to take what we ordered, but to really collaborate with each other. So that is already very important 2 things that you have. Your sales pipeline be protected, and your supply chain to be tempered. Then you come to people. Homework, all these kind of things. The good thing in Switzerland, you can always have support from the government. So they have the chômage program. And what is important for that is if the economics really has an explainable turnaround, you don't need to fire people, but you can protect your people by adding to this program. So basically, you can apply a 50% chômage. These kind of things are very important in Switzerland, that the support is there. So you go through this.
It was a lot of team spirit, if you see.
It has been super difficult because people were working remotely. They could not crossing borders because remember, we are here in the center of Geneva, but close to the French border. We have a lot of people from France. They could not come. So it was like a new way of working. But a new experience also.
And I have a little question on the digital sales. Before COVID, if you can tell it, how it was about your sale, in your sales in digital, how it has been increased during the COVID, and how is down after, and how now you're working to keep digital, if it's one of your strategy, because if I remember, you don't have retail Frédérique Constant, you only have wholesale, and you're doing digital. So how did you, my question is not so clear, but what is the history of your digital sales?
Before COVID, we were doing 5 to 6% e-commerce. We started to explore things, we started to be successful, we had several things happening. Then COVID came, we saw an acceleration. It went from 10 to 12 to 13% of our business. Without calculating all the third parties that were helping us to sell also, because that's only direct business we did here. Then after that, I stopped aggressively selling e-com. Because
you wanted
I wanted to stop. Yeah, I wanted more that. For me, it was more important to educate on the digital side than to sell hardcore. I think that sales, if you have over 2,500 point of sales, you start to compete with your own point of sales also. And the learning we had is that the best effective sales are still happening, of course, when you are a brand like us, but also when you have bricks and mortar store together with e-com. So a consumer who's purchasing a €2,500 watch, he wants to be secure to know, can I go back to a physical store or not? And that learning for me was very important. Okay, guys, we can better support point of sales to sell than do it ourselves. And make sure we create traffic for the point of sales also. That generates a strong collaboration with them. And it gives them the margin that they deserve. They have been loyal. And we need to do the educational part. So it has been very firm. We still sell online, but it's marginal. Very marginal.
And why you didn't open your own brand store?
We do.
You have?
Yeah. We have Qatar, Tokyo. We have Kuala Lumpur. We're opening in Jakarta. We have New York.
Yes. But I was on the website yesterday. I was looking to see where I can find a Frédérique Constant, like in Paris. And
Paris don't.
Yes,
no.
you don't. And in the world, and for example, in the website, there is only wholesale, détaillant in French. There is not.
Because in France we have only wholesale. That's true. We have like a concession base with Galeries Lafayette, but it's super effective. That's mostly driven by ourselves. We do a lot of business there, but physical owned stores we don't have. It's an own boutique, but in franchise form. So we are a factory. We are a watch brand. So we leave the retail up to the retailer.
Of course, yes.
So that's their specialism. So when we do a boutique in Qatar, for instance, it's with a partner. When we do a boutique in Tokyo,
Okay.
In Tokyo, it's in Tokyo and New York. It's really an also franchise. We have Bulova in there, for instance, very nice, but also with Citizen next to it. So it's a combination where we are the most high-end brand, of course.
And when did you start your own store? From the beginning?
We had in South Korea, for instance, already like 5 or 6 boutiques. That's already since 10, 15 years. Very strong, big stores.
Because Asia is really your most important.
Asia is very important. Yeah, very important area. It starts to be. It had a challenge the past years. It's really coming back. Although China is big time in a challenge, and I don't see it coming back. But Europe has been always naturally our biggest area.
Okay, so you're impacted, but not like other brands that are really lead by the Asian market. You are.
No, we are less. Like you can see clearly certain brands are completely focused. They have focused for the past 20 years on China. And we didn't do that much. We had on a certain moment 140 point of sales in China, quite significant. But we never really had like a huge bang there like many other brands has.
And can you talk with us about the China crisis? You wanted to talk about it earlier.
So, what do you would like to know?
What you would like to say? No, it's important that right now everyone are feeling the crisis. But you, for Frédérique Constant, what's your vision about that?
So China is an important market. We cannot neglect it. And the only thing what we need to understand, if you want to be successful in China, you need to have 2 important things. 1 is distribution, and 2 is a lot of money. So you need to really invest long-term in a market to get that revenue back. But on the other hand, the distribution is not easy. It's a very expensive set of distribution to build it there. So if you want to be successful, you better have like an own boutique concept to set up there. So for us, it's not the priority. Not for now. We have priority, we have focused clearly on India, for instance. We focused on the US, big time. We focus on a market like Mexico, big time upcoming. And those markets, luckily, sometimes you need to have luck, they are now driving the growth globally. India, it's the most upcoming market for the luxury industry. because it's a billion population. And what you can see there is that it rapidly now starts to develop in luxury. And we are with strong network there, strong distribution. We invested already for 20 years. So we can clearly see the benefit coming out. And the US has always been strong. It's never, but a very complicated market. Yes. Because Swiss brands, they would like to own how they set up a brand in the country. And US, you typically need US-based people with the experience of the US culture to build your brand. If you think as a Swiss brand, you send someone over from Switzerland to build your brand in the US, it's going to be super challenging. You need that structure there. And we have that structure now.
Okay. I have some question, about other positioning of your brand.
Yeah.
Because, for example, here you're talking about your positioning in the country, but you have a particular positioning for me. Like I told you just previously, for me, you're a bit like a quiet luxury, but you're affordable brand. You're not really so accessible luxury that some people can say, but it's my opinion. What is, for you, your opinion of your brand?
You're right. Let's say we have a slogan, let more people enjoy luxury. Let more people enjoy luxury, that's really our mission. We want to give access to a large group of people, globally, to luxury. To luxury. Where our brand starts around €750. That's the first approach, quartz model, high finishing that you can buy. So for a long time, I could say accessible luxury was very suitable for us. Today, accessible luxury for me, it should be redefined, because there are many brands coming, micro brands in the past years, that overskipping the organic distribution channels. They go straight to consumer. So the whole pricing mechanism there has been redefined also. So I don't think accessible luxury today is the right word. You can debate about accessibility in luxury. Does it fit? I think luxury means that you have a high finished product with a good quality, and then you have all kind of ratios with price. We have a fair price. So I'm always telling my team, listen, we are the young, innovative watch manufacturer from Geneva. And that fits much more for me, my brand purpose. The accessible luxury, it's more complicated.
Yes, because you have your in-house movement, you have beautiful communication, but in the same time, it's, like you said, a fair price. So you can have, I don't know what the price of my watch, but I know that you can have a first watch that will with all the beautifulness. I don't know if the word is English, but all the beauty of the watch savoir-faire. But in the same time, you don't have to pay many euros for this watch.
Yeah, that has always been our business model. The strength for the brand is between 1,000 and 3,000 euro. And I think today it's even more stronger, because many brands, they went up with the pricing.
And you don't want to do that?
No. So I've been fighting for that to keep the pricing where we are. And I can tell you, my shareholders, they were pushing.
What is your average price?
Average retail price, it really depends, but it really trends to 2,000 euro.
Okay.
So what you could see is that the price gap that you can see happening now, many brands went up. They went up in the past 2 to 3 years, more than 30%, more than 35%, and sometimes even unjustified. So my shareholder said, Niels, the supply is going up. Sure, we had to do a price increase, and we have done a price increase, but not that aggressive, because I say there's a moment where the wave, the hype of the watchmaking will go down, and that's the moment where we should grab and penetrate to get market share. If we continue to follow everybody with the price increase, we price ourselves out of the market, and you are going to compete with brands where you don't want to compete. So I'm super happy we stay there. And for me, it's very important that you have a price increase justified. So for instance, our manufacture calibers, we applied a price increase now, but we also give 72-hour power reserve. So we give a bigger package for the consumer. Now the philosophy overall we have for the brand is that we offer a fantastic finished product, very high finished, but for an extremely fair price. We don't have expensive ambassadors. The marketing is the product. That's for us key. And the younger...
But it's a volume business. You need to sell a lot.
So, what is true, because the volume is helping us to invest in the manufacture calibers. And that manufacture caliber, we can offer it in the price starting at €3,000 because we have that volume. That's very important. And the manufacturer, don't forget, if we do a world timer for €4,500, we still do like 3,500, 4,000 pieces a year of that world timer. So it's almost industrialized volume for us.
And because like you have all your manufacture, your movement, you control your supply chain, your costs, and so you delete some person on the chain, and so you can make economy of scale.
Sure. The moment you have volume, you have leverage. The moment you have leverage, you have a negotiation on the price for supply. If you do your manufacture in-house, it's anyhow the most accessible way. Don't invent too much. Keep your base movement for a long time the same. If you do an adjustment, what we did with the power reserve. Do a small adjustment, it's 85% increase of power reserve. And then make sure all your base movements are aligned with that power reserve increase. That's industrialization. What is super important to keep that price accessible.
And why you're selling very expensive watch?
So, first of all, we have that clientele because our customer starts by purchasing an Aura quartz model for €750 or an automatic for €1,000 or a little bit more upscaled automatic for €1,500. But the moment they purchase a watch, we have a high retention from people. And then we don't need to let them go because they can make the next step. They've experienced the brand, they've seen the quality. Very often they also tell us, listen, when I wear your watch, people are reacting on it. So that gives them pleasure, it's an experience. And then they're more likely to purchase another watch from you, higher level. And then you grow from €1,500 to or €2,500, or you go to the manufacturer for €3,000. The tourbillon we have for €15,000, perpetual calendar tourbillon for €19,000 is done because we feel first of all, that's an important innovation to do as a watch brand. We are young, we need to gain credibility. So we felt that was needed. That was back in 2008, the tourbillon. We have redefined it and we continue to innovate on it. That product specifically is really exactly on par with our business model. A tourbillon, 39mm case, only one or two brands have it, but then for €15,000. There's not many brands who are able to do that with that package. So we were very successful the moment we launched because there's still a group that appreciate that price bracket and that quality. So of course they jump on the Pateks or the Vacherons, but there's still a group now coming, and that's especially the younger audience. They appreciate much more the price-quality ratio. So, and that's where we see the traction. On top of, we have watch connoisseurs that appreciate what we are doing, and they would like to buy something exceptional from us.
And when you know that the brand can make exceptional piece, you say, okay, if I can budget the first price, if they are able to do higher pieces, okay, so the smaller price can be a good piece as well.
Sure, but for me, it's super important to manage three things from my position. One is your consumer. And 6 years ago, we really wanted to understand much better what is our consumer need. Your second point is your product. If you listen to your consumer, you know what kind of product you have to produce. Then the third thing is your people. You need to have the right people to make that product the right way. So then your circle is round. If you master this, I think you can come very far with a watch brand. The consumer 6 years ago, we could see that they wanted more exceptional pieces for the brand. Not just the volume, but they also were appreciating more unique pieces. So we started to work on that. Then you had, after COVID, the huge hype. Everybody wanted to have something unique. So, and we are flexible, we can act quick, and we really wanted to have those exceptional pieces for our audience, for the consumers. And we have seen a big hype for us on the high-end pieces, clearly, the past 2 to 3 years. Today, what you can see is that the volume is coming back because people around the world, the high-end pieces have been selling, every brand has jumped on it. And today we clearly see volume is coming back big time. So we are very happy with that because that's what we need also.
And so where do you see your growth? In the both category you have for the VIC, we can say, and for the young people first watch?
I think the growth today, we see that our consumer is becoming younger, clearly. So listen, it's very difficult to identify because young people can still spend €5,000 for a watch. What is unbelievable for me because I have a son of 19 years old and I know his pockets. So, but we can see clearly that the products we have, you're wearing now the Carré Classics, super attractive. It's the biggest volume launch we did this year in many years.
It's a really beautiful one.
So we projected this product, for instance, in a certain volume, but we are still too low. So that tells you, for me, that the product, first of all, is good. The consumer today, the young audience, likes classical watches, very vintage-driven. And that's where we can see we are starting to be younger. So we're tapping into a younger audience today, what is super important.
And how are you going to control and have all the data? Because you're selling a lot on wholesale.
Yeah.
Not a lot. You have your store. But how do you gain all the data?
Yeah. So we have, today we have a tool where every retailer is going to subscribe the warranty and we get instantly the data. So we see every moment we sell a watch, we see that. That's today, that's easy. Yeah. That's very needed, I can tell you.
Active warranty.
Active warranty, yeah.
And so you have all the track.
Then we have the track, we see the pattern of sales, we see if a product that we launch marketing-wise, communication-wise and distribution-wise, if it's successful or not. Very much needed for your supply chain, your production, product development. But we used to have already for many years a warranty activation on the website.
Okay.
And that was really helping us to drive the success of knowing what your consumer wants and what we are selling.
Okay. And so now you have the data more thanks to the activation of warranty. And what will be the next step? Because you need to have more data.
We need much more data. So listen, for me, I'm already happy to get that data in to see who is buying what product and also what age is developing. We have, for instance, in the US, we have a big structure there. They have very much insight about their behavior of consumers. So the future of that is that we need to know much more why they're attracted to your brand. What are they doing in work? What is their income? What is the comparison with the fashion industry that we can see patterns? The watch industry is quite late with this, I can tell you. So everything you gain in knowledge of data will help your supply chain, your stock, your product development, but also your sales. So it's crucial to do this.
Okay, really interesting. Because, for example, a lot of, this trend with NFT, blockchain, etc. But for example, you can have data of the resale. Not for everyone, but a lot of watch brands want to know where is going to resell and what is the price of the resale. So do you track the second-hand market?
So this not much, I have to say, but it's a very important track record also, because it tells you a bit about the value of your brand. I don't believe that much for watches that is investments, others than the big brands, we know them. But we could see, for instance, in the Morgan Stanley report, interesting enough, because they came to me, and you can see here in 24 Q1, year on year, the improvement of your secondary market value.
No way.
They do reports. You can see here the worst one that are dropping, and you can see the biggest one. No. Look who's the biggest one.
Frédérique Constant.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So there's two things there. One, we were probably very bad before. That could be.
So why you have a big growth now?
That could be, or what you could see is that what we have been doing, we have certain collaborations. We did the Naked Watchmaker, we did the Second collaboration. We have like a lineup of product the past years that are very attractive for watch connoisseurs. That brings the perception of your brand up. That brings the equity, the value of your equity of your brand up. And that helps indirectly also your secondary market.
Really interesting. And it's maybe why, for example, the most brands, you know, where the price are the most expensive, like Audemars Piguet, Patek, Gérard Perregaux, Vacheron, not Vacheron, they are their smaller growth.
No, they're
really,
dropping even. Yeah. But probably also because they have been lifting on the hype.
Yes.
Where the price in the secondary market was even over the price of the retail. So you can see when the hype is there, but now it goes down economically and the hype is really gone. Everybody starts to come to a normality. Then that impact you can see. It's quite normal.
And you told me just previously that Frédérique Constant now you're doing 100 billion of revenue. So it's...
I cannot say, but it's according to the report.
Okay, what's your vision for the next 12 years?
We are now ranked in the top 40 brands in Switzerland. I'm looking really to that. That's for me important. And I think in the coming 12 years, we should come at least within the top 25. We have the potential.
Sure.
We have the support financially. We have our distribution. We have the product. We have all elements to do it. So now it's a matter of capitalizing on it. And I'm challenging my team because this is for me super important.
Yes, I'm sure. And can you tell us, first of all, for this vision you have, okay, so now we want to be in the top 10 of the next Swiss...
well, top 25, I'm happy. Top
25.
10 is
Maybe
very
I'm more
challenging.
ambitious. Let's say 20.
You need to set realistic goals.
Okay, 25. What is your plan for that?
So, how I see it, I think we have been...
Because, for example, I'm sorry to cut you, but
sure.
you said that you had to focus on digital and young people because you're doing digital, but you say stop digital growth. Digital...
digital
invest,
e-com.
Some really interesting to have your
So
opinion.
e-com is for me different than digital presence. I think digital presence is super important. The young audience, I have two sons, 11 and 19. They wake up with their phone, correct? So where we used to have 20 years ago, we needed a magazine to enter into your room and the world and to present to you the world of luxury. Today it's like within a few seconds it's there. Super effective, a bit scary also. We should have like a support to teach us how to deal with social media. I'm very honest on this. Our parents never had that, but we have to deal with it. But nevertheless, we have an instant moment where we can go into your brain to present you the brand. Super important to connect with the younger audience. And the future of luxury is in their hands. So 60% of Generation YZ will 60% of your luxury audience in the coming 3 to 4 years is coming from Generation YZ. So you better connect with them. So there are a few elements where it's super important to connect with them. How I see it. They are much more aware of product pricing. Much more.
They compare.
Yeah, they compare, they know, they see. They're also attracted by branding, but it's a mix of branding, product, price. Where for me, when I was young, it was very strongly driven by brand only. Less price, I have to say. You start to be confronted by price the moment you see the product in a window. Today you can see everywhere. You can compare, you see the brands, you can do whatever you want.
Some years ago, you couldn't see the price. You need to pay people to go in Asia and to go to the store and to see the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So today it's super open. So they will be educated by that. Then there are a few elements where you can clearly see they find it important. Sustainability, for instance, they find it super important. What I think is right. They find the quality of a product very important, much more than before. They want to know if it's a good quality. So they look at reviews of your brand on YouTube. They look at on the social media. And if it's going to be more positive than negative, they're more likely to purchase your brand. Very important. So that's where the digital presence is important.
Like a trust relationship.
Yes, yeah. So that's, I think, it's key to develop more for the brand. Much more than the authentic marketing we used to do as a luxury brand.
And what do you do for sustainability?
Yeah, so that's something that many brands are constantly jumping on it. We worked on it for 4 years already on the back end. So I really prepared for a long time now with someone who's consulting us. He used to work for us. And he asked me 4 years ago, Niels, I'm going to do a master in sustainability at the Cambridge University. Can I use your company as an example in the case? I said, wow, for sure you can. So with him, I really built the whole plan. And actually this month, we're going to report the whole plan to the CSR. So the CSR reporting. So very important to be transparent. Very important to have
You're Dutch, I'm French.
company aligned. Yeah. We do a combination. To have alignment within your organization. I do believe if you don't have a clear agenda on the sustainability, it's very, very difficult to engage with your younger audience that you would like to hire. So also there, it's an important thing. But of course, the product comes in the end only. The whole process is in your company, then the product comes in the end, where many brands, they started to be super early stage with a product, we call that greenwashing, correct? We even also had like a product already sustainable, recycled, but then you start to realize, okay, it's not authentic and it's not the way it should be done. So, and that's where you need help. So for me, sustainability, it's unavoidable. You have to engage there and you have to have your program ready. So that's one thing that we worked hard. So we're going to report now, and in the coming years you will see more.
We're looking for.
Sure.
I have a question about all the experience, because you said we need to target this new consumer who are really connected to digital, and there is this trend or theory about Phygital that is real. You, for example, you're going to search on digital, then you come to the store.
Physical store, yeah.
Yes, and you need to have this both experience.
Yeah.
How you are doing with this wholesale business model? Of course, you have your stores, but in majority wholesale. How do you share your experience with the customer?
Yeah, that's a very good one, and that's a very big challenge, I have to say, because you can clearly see that your retail is not at the point to be aligned with that experience yet. I clearly see that. You see some retail are really popping out. They really know how to attract digitally that consumer and give them that experience, that 360-degree experience, by having that little drink, having that sit together, show them not one watch but like a new watch, show them the very exclusive pieces that they can only buy at his store. That process, I think it's going to be shaped more in the coming years, I can tell you. That's not something that is going to be set and prepared today. It's like a movement that needs to take place. And probably there, it's going to be difficult even for retail to follow. Because they need to have a different mindset for them. They were used to sell watches because someone come to them and they want to buy a watch. That time is over sooner or later. You need to be more proactive. We are having discussions with retailers to say, listen, this watch, how are you going to sell it? And then the reaction is very often, well, we'll wait till someone comes in. I said, okay, so why would you not do it differently? Why are you not calling 10 people from your database and tell them, I have a very unique piece here for you, and I reserve it for you to have an experience with it. Would you like to come and experience it?
Of course.
But you need to tell them. It's like a mindset that they need to start to understand. It has been way too easy for a lot of retail to sell watches like that.
In fact, we need to be back to my grandparent time when you had this really commerçant business.
Commercial
sense, relationship. Yeah. Like you're a pharmacist, you're a baker, and you have this like personalization thing, and it's why you come every time this is baker on this watch this watch brand. And I think it's maybe, first of all, I know you're doing like manufacturer visit for a lot of people, and how you can attract your people, because digital, it's good, but it's not enough. And you need to have really personalization.
It's very interesting when you're saying, it comes back to the beginning of our discussion, people buy from people.
Yes.
So my son, I'm coming back on this one, 19 years old, he is educated with his mother, purchasing everything online for him. And he's fed up. He wants to buy it in a physical store. He likes to experience it by a store where he has experienced the right pants for him. He wants to buy a second one, the retention, because they really treat him well. So you're absolutely right. That whole experience for me comes back. From our side here, indeed, we have the experience downstairs. We are 36 years young, so we don't have a museum with all kind of historical pieces, but we built an experience where in, I would say 1.5, 2 hours, we can really show people around what watchmaking means and what we are doing. And what does it mean, manufacture? Manufacture movements, we know what it is, but like 95% of the population doesn't even know the difference between a normal third-party automatic or an in-house manufacture piece. So you need to tell them. You need to give them the experience. And that same experience we're using also to educate retail, to bring them over here and to let them experience what we are doing to educate the consumers.
Yes, because they're not going to invent it. So,
no.
And there is a more and more brand we're doing like video about, you know, the how it's what is your savoir-faire, how it's making, but it's a bit, I can't say the brand, but it's fashion brand.
Yeah.
They are doing a lot of video like that, but we know that the reality of the quality is really bad.
Okay.
And you're like, yes, but you're doing sharing a lot of video, and like you say, wow, the savoir-faire is so amazing. Yes, but your bag is not so good.
Yeah, but that, I think that's typically, well, you know that probably much better than me, but that's where that experience is going to drive to stores where they really want to experience the quality of a product.
And it's why, it's not really the subject, but it's why these past weeks there is a lot of trend, I don't remember the name, about the increase in Asia of fake markets for luxury, because some fake items are better quality than the real one.
Oh, really?
My father just sent me again this morning, and I was feeling it.
Okay.
Yes, there is this boom. I could share you the name later, and I will make it on the description about that. That there is, yes, this boom about that people are a bit exhausted to pay too many for a quality they don't have. You told yesterday, just previously, about quality, about sustainability. Yeah. It's that we need to have trust.
Sure.
And first of all, to have a fair price, it's important. But for me, as a consumer, I'm coming to Frédérique Constant, I want to be sure that the first price is staying a good quality, whereas a watch that is 30k euros.
Yeah.
And first of all, I'm coming to the store, how you going to make me understanding that the quality is really the same, and I'm not going, feeling that is a cheapest one. Cheaper?
Cheaper. So that's a question, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, I still think that the retail is playing a big role in it, because the experience I have with my brand is that the moment you touch the watch, and this watch is 800 euro.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Let's face it. Today you're buying shoes on the secondary market, jackets, bags for the same price, impulsively.
Yes.
But now you can buy a new product in the store for 800 euro that you right away you feel it's a good quality.
We feel it.
So that's where I think the first approach is super important. The good thing is the retailer might not be always equipped to bring over the message, but the product does. And that's where I still believe the product is key.
You need to feel it.
Yes, you need to feel it, and we need to make sure we have the right quality on the wrist that people expecting from you. So it's our job to have that product, and it's of course the retailer, the job to offer it in the right experience. But the product, if you like the product by the field, 80% of the business is done.
Yes, of course. And it's okay if your margin are less important for this first price, and you can make maybe, I don't know, more margin, And the more expensive
Sure.
watch, or you have the same margin?
But on our side,
Yes.
no, we have across the board the same margin.
Okay.
Manufacturer, we have a lower margin because there it's more competitive to have the price so competitive.
I thought the contrary. Okay, interesting.
No. So, and there, for me, that's where it has been important to keep the pricing where it is
and
today.
you're doing more volume on that, so you have
Sure,
more
exactly.
margin. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm stupid.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's really interesting in how you're doing that. So, I have last question that we call that signature question.
Okay.
So everyone has exactly the same. You just answer personally, naturally. You can answer long or short answer. What is the first luxury item you ever had in your life?
Yeah. Now let's start with one thing that I want to make clear.
Yes.
Because we are here in this room 1% of the world population that have the luxury of eating every day, having a house, have clean water. So I think we need to realize one thing, although I work in luxury, it's a privilege already to do and work and live in an environment where we have clean water and everything. Very important. Now, my luxury
is not superficiality. A lot of people think, but it's not.
Sometimes just realize how privileged you are to be born here instead of not born somewhere else where it's a disaster. And the world is so unbalanced today that it concerns me even. So it's like something that I think we need to just be aware. And I'm teaching my kids very often to tell them, be aware of that. So my first luxury purchase has been, I think it has been an Omega watch. Can I say that?
Yeah, of course.
Sure, I should say that.
Of course.
So the first money I made in that time with Swatch Group as a bonus, and I said to my wife in that time, listen, I'm going to buy a watch. And I bought it the same year that my son was born, so back in 2005. So I was wearing it like a few times, and then later we moved also to Frédérique Constant, so I put it in the safe. But I know it's going to be his watch because he's from 2005. So when he's adult enough, serious enough to respect it and to value it, it's his watch.
Wow, good. And what the last luxury item you receive or you offered or you buy for yourself?
The last one. Well, very simple actually. The last one is my fragrance, my perfume. I still consider that as luxury. It's Momo. It's the brand.
What the brand?
Is it Memo? The brand? You don't know this? I think it's Momo. We have to look it up.
Yes.
It's a perfume, Italian leather. I love the perfume scent. So that was very simple. That was a gift, and it was an expensive perfume. I know. I was thinking that's a lot of money for a perfume, but I love the scent. So
and you want to have something unique.
I wanted something unique. Yeah.
Don't want to have the same.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Like
You're not
the Must
like
volume.
everyone.
Yeah.
Me, I'm the same. I don't want to have the perfume of anyone. What is the brand you like the most? And of course, not Frédérique Constant, and why?
Okay. Well, for
not,
me...
for example, watch.
No. For me, in the luxury, I think there are a few brands that are really so consistent in what they're doing. They constantly have scarcity. They have high quality. They have desirability. And that's Chanel and Hermes, by far for me. An example of how luxury has been built.
What do you like? What do you like least about luxury, and what do you like the most?
The least, I think, it's like the madness around it, the craziness that that it creates with people, that they jump on things, that they overpay for certain things. I think that part I attracted the least to it. The most, it's a very tangible industry, luxury. You can touch it, and I love products. I love high finished products. And I love the value of a qualitative product. So that part I really enjoy from the luxury.
What is your definition of luxury?
I think it's important to have scarcity. So you don't get it on every corner. It needs to be high quality. By far, important. That's for me luxury. If you don't have the quality, then you're not perceived as a luxury brand, I would say, compared to the price. It needs to have something magical when you feel you wear it. So you need to feel like, hey, that's good. Or you need to drive the car that you like. So it needs to bring extra to you. Then it's luxury for me.
And finally, for you, what will be the luxury of tomorrow?
Oh, difficult question. Huh? Yes, you're strong with the questions.
I know
I
you
think,
like challenge. Or...
Yeah. I think luxury for tomorrow. I think luxury exists for over 200 years. Huh? The brands. So I don't think it will change too much. I think you will see some new, fresh brands coming in for sure, but it will constantly be dominated by the big brands. Although I think in the coming 10 years you might see that it's challenged, even the big brands. Because the whole sustainability, the new audience, the unbalancing of the world economics today, it will bring some challenges even to big brands. I'm for sure. So I think it's never been challenged so much as it's going to be the coming 10 years. That's what I think.
Okay. Thank you so much, Niels.
Thank you very much.
Really interesting.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was so interesting. I learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
Merci infiniment pour votre écoute. J'espère du fond du cœur que vous avez apprécié cet épisode. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner au podcast, à le partager autour de vous, à laisser vos commentaires afin que nous puissions échanger tous ensemble. Ça nous motive et c'est ce qui fera aussi rayonner le podcast. N'hésitez pas également à vous abonner à mon Instagram, à LinkedIn. Ce sera un plaisir de discuter de luxe avec vous. Et je vous dis rendez-vous à la semaine prochaine pour un épisode aussi exceptionnel que celui-ci.